Lindian Resources has reaffirmed the world-class status of its Kangankunde Rare Earths project in Malawi, with its Stage 1 feasibility study confirming a technically low-risk and economically robust project. As the feasibility study outlines, Stage 1 of development at Kangankunde is projected to have a post-tax NPV of $555 million, an internal rate of return of 80%, and an average annual EBITDA of $84 million. The low-cost structure also means that Stage 1 will be one of the very few global rare earths projects which can deliver a positive annual EBITDA at current low rare earths prices. Close watchers of the stock, like Far East Capital's Warwick Grigor, have eagerly anticipated this study, and having dissected the figures and the data, it confirms many of Grigor's strong opinions around Kangankunde's place in the global rare earths market.
Well, I knew the feasibility study was going to be good. You could tell by the resources and the previous releases, but I didn't know it was going to be this good. And this places the project firmly as really the number one project in the world in terms of early production, low costs. It can survive the economics that have been forced on the industry. This is head and shoulders above anything else out there in the marketplace.
The study also confirmed its status as a low-cost project once Stage 1 is fully operational, with upfront pre-production capital costs of $40 million and an average annual operating cost of $292 a kilo of total rare earth oxide, positioning Kangankunde in the lowest cost quartile in the global industry. And what makes it a low-cost operation? According to the study, no pre-stripping is required, with a low waste-to-ore ratio of 0.2 to 1. And operationally, it is a simple flow sheet based on gravity and magnetic separation. Basically, it's about crushing and grinding, a conventional setup as opposed to other more complex metallurgies. Grigor believes this aspect of the project makes it a significant outlier when it comes to other rare earths projects in the world, particularly given its size and grade.
Well, what we've seen over the last 12 months or more is how the Chinese have manipulated the rare earth prices. Their idea is they want to buy up projects like this cheap. It's a tactic they've used before with other commodities, but it's even more important to them now with rare earths. The low cost element means that Kangankunde doesn't have to worry about whatever price the rare earth suite is selling for. They'll be able to make money when no one else will. And so it makes them bulletproof.
Stage 1 at Kangankunde is set to produce on average over 15,300 tonnes per annum of premium concentrate with 55% TREO grade, with low levels of thorium and uranium and limited acid consuming minerals. Simply put, the low radioactivity of the ore sets Kangankunde apart from the rest. The magnitude and longevity of the project was also confirmed with the release of the maiden ore reserves, which totaled 23.7 million tonnes with 2.9% total rare earth oxide, supporting a Stage 1 life of mine of 45 years. It now also sets the stage for a potential Stage 2 expansion study later this year, which Grigor believes is another significant catalyst to watch for.
Well, with many companies, we see a feasibility study and the reality hits home that, well, this is going to require a lot of finance. It's not as wonderful as was first made out. But this is exceptional. This is actually something that is even better than what anyone could have been expected. The catalyst for Lindian, really, I think once they get the funding organised, and that's not going to be difficult, if you consider that the market capitalisation is $180 million, the cost of the project, pre-production capex is 1/3 of that, eminently financeable. And I think that the bottom line under the project, once that happens, then we know it's all going ahead. Until then, there'll be speculation as to where the money's coming from. There'll be speculation as to what strategic shareholders they may take on board. There's going to be a lot of talking about this right through the sector.
With all key development approvals in place, Lindian is set to shift its focus towards securing the required funding to commence construction on Stage 1. Currently, the company is progressing funding discussions on multiple fronts, with construction groups, trading companies and strategic investors all expressing interest. As it stands now, Lindian is well funded and well positioned to secure the best funding option. But Grigor remains steadfast in his belief that Kangankunde will continue to attract the eyeballs of major global players wanting to pick up a globally significant rare earths asset.
Well, I'm sure the large mining companies in the world have had a file open on this for the last year or two. Companies that are looking at corporate moves, that someone could take over the project or the company and be a dominant player in the rare earths market for many, many decades. That's the sort of company-making project that BHPs, Rios, companies like that, they like to get in there. They won't act while it's still speculative. They won't act until there's a feasibility study. But now they can go down and start ticking their boxes, and they'll, behind the boardroom doors of many companies, they'll be thinking, wow, this is cheap. We've really got to move on this before someone else does. And I think also, if you introduce politics into this, if the US and Europe are worried about being strangled on rare earths by the Chinese, it's absolutely critical that the politicians of those countries do not allow the Chinese to get control of this, because the Chinese, if they had this, they could be undercutting rare earth prices even further and driving everyone else away. It's a very powerful weapon to have in the war for rare earths. And I think whether it be major companies or politicians, governments, Americans, Europeans, I think people can see there's a lot of money to be made here. So, if I was a shareholder in, which I must disclose I am, a shareholder in Lindian, it's going to be all about who's going to pay the highest price. It's going to be a very exciting future from here.
So far in the 2024 calendar year, Lindian has commenced trading on the OTC, finalised a significant feasibility study and updated mineral resource estimate, and expanded the high-grade footprint at Kangankunde while locking away every key development approval required. Lindian is poised to attack the new financial year in a strong position on multiple fronts, so expect many astute investors to closely analyse its progress.